So the crypto market has definitely seen a lot of movement over the last couple of days. We've seen new announcements come out from Russia and Ukraine, Joe Biden with executive orders, and we're having upcoming data on inflation. So today's video, I want to talk about everything you need to know as a crypto investor. First thing is going to be with the charts. If we look at technical analysis and we're looking at Bitcoin, there's a lot to be excited about, even though we have seen volatility over the last couple of days. The first thing is going to be that we have seen higher lows over the last month to month and a half. If you look at the charts right here, you could see that right around end of January, we reached a low of $33,000 per coin. Since then, we have dropped back down, had a couple of different corrections, but every single correction we have had has been higher than the previous corrections. We had another one about 1 month later on February 22nd, but we only dropped down to 36,000. Then again, we just recently had another one a couple days ago, and we dropped down a little bit higher. So you can see now we have this ascending triangle forming, which is a very bullish sign. Ultimately, we're going to have to continue to see how this plays out, and hopefully we continue to trade in between this range before breaking out to the upside. But the good news right now is that we have seen higher lows over the last month to almost 2 months now. So that is bullish. Second thing happening is that we saw the crypto market see a bit of a spike over the last couple of hours, really over the last 24 to 48 hours, mostly because of Joe Biden and this executive order on crypto. And what we saw is that in this document, it does not really have any restrictive measures on the crypto market, but it does lay the groundwork for how the government and different government organizations are going to treat crypto over the coming months and years. And this surprised a lot of people because originally there was a lot of fear in the market across the entire world, really, that these executive orders may really restrict crypto and innovation over the coming years and may have some big negative impacts on the market, but ultimately we did not see that happen. The order designates 6 key areas of the federal government's involvement with crypto. The 6 areas are consumer and investor protection, financial stability, financial inclusion, responsible innovation, the United States global financial leadership, and combating illicit financial activity. It sort of directs which government agencies are going to be responsible for which portions of the market and different aspects of crypto and innovation in general. But the good news is that it really didn't have too many restrictive measures in place. So that is the second positive. First is with technical indicators. Second is with this executive order. Third thing that's happening right now is that we're seeing new CPI data come out on Thursday, March 10th, 2022. And while we're not expecting this to be great, we're expecting consumer prices to set 40-year highs. The good news here is that typically when we see inflation and all of this data come out negative, a lot of the time we see the crypto market respond positive to this because people are saying, you know what, inflation is going to be bad, consumer price index continues to rise. Maybe we should look at some alternative investments like crypto, for example. So while we don't know the direct impacts of this just yet, what we do know is that inflation is here. We're seeing it in prices. We're seeing everything with Russia and Ukraine make gas prices even worse and prices all across the board, especially with the supply chain. But ultimately, this is going to have long-term positive impacts on crypto, in my opinion. Whether we see volatility in the coming days and weeks, that's very likely. But ultimately, long-term, I think this will push more investors into the crypto markets as we continue to see tech companies struggle, and a lot of companies just in the stock market continue to struggle. Last thing I want to talk about is going to be with what is really going on with Bitcoin price prediction before we get into 1 or 2 altcoins and some institutional investor data. Right now we're seeing with Bitcoin, like I said, still looking very bullish long term. BitBull Capital CEO came out and said that Bitcoin is still on track to reach $100,000 per coin by 2023. He says we're reaching higher lows and even higher highs. He says especially over the last few months. And we showed that with the charts. Higher lows over the last 2 months now. He said in addition to this, Bitcoin may not be a digital gold, but as a currency that doesn't follow the whims of central bank and has a very finite quantity. And we have really seen that with the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, as both countries have been able to benefit from the cryptocurrency market. Ukraine has gotten donations in form of Bitcoin and a number of different altcoins, and people in Russia have been able to, use their money to buy Bitcoin as the ruble continues to drop in value. So really, he says that he's predicting $100,000 per coin. Still, this year, we might see more of a flat year, more of a consolidation year, but ultimately still that $100,000 per coin is in play over the next 24 months. Last thing I really want to go over before we get into institutional data is going to be with one altcoin in particular that we've talked about now for almost a year and a half. And that is that Avalanche. Avalanche Foundation just unveiled a new $290 million incentive program to spur growth of subnets. And this is a very big deal. Earlier in 2021, Avalanche had launched a $180 million program in August of 2021 to spur innovation and growth on its blockchain to help it compete with the likes of, let's say, Algorand and a number of other layer 1 cryptos. But the good news here is that we're seeing projects and NFT games already receive money and funding from this program. We've seen that NFT gaming project, DeFi Kingdoms, has received $15 million in incentives, and that money has been set aside for them to grow and build on the Avalanche ecosystem. So all of this is very exciting for Avalanche. We've seen Luna really take off, and I think Avalanche does have the potential to do what Luna has done as of recently. Last thing I want to talk about is going to be with institutional investors over the last week to 2 weeks. What we have seen is that institutional investors have been continuing to pour money into Bitcoin. And we have seen that crypto saw inflows of $127 million over the last week, despite all of the crazy volatility we have seen in the market. We've seen so much volatility, but institutions are continuing to pour money into crypto, specifically into Bitcoin and Ethereum. If we look at the data right here, we can see that vast majority of funds from institutions are pouring into Bitcoin, not into Cardano, not into Polkadot, not into Solana like we typically see, but really solely focused into Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum had $25 million of inflows, and Bitcoin had $95 million of inflows. So while right now the market is still on edge, there's still a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of positive signs right now for long-term investors. So if you're a short-term investor, I keep an eye out on this upward trending support, this ascending triangle that we talked about earlier in the video. I'll keep an eye out on this. You could always try and trade that level, but long-term, we're in a good position. I'm looking for a $46,000 to $47,000 per coin breakout before really confirming this reversal and our push to new record highs. So that's what's going on in the overall market. Let me know your thoughts. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.